There is a war for your mind, and this war has been happening since the beginning of time. This is not something new, and this will continue to happen for really just the entire existence of humanity. Not because there's nothing we can do to stop it, it's entirely due to the evolution of each of our individualized realities. Because it is in my belief that we are all fractal forms of God, the universe, whomever it is that you worship. We are fractal forms of this. I mean, we are literally flesh made manifest by the very existence of reality itself, the very existence of existence itself. And part of evolving is going through certain levels of consciousness to see that there are things that are going to negatively affect your life, and there are things that are going to improve your life, and the two are between the flesh and the spirit. Now, it's not so much that if you don't believe in the spirit, that's fine. It's a matter of kind of just really turning yourself away from the physical world and entirely giving yourself to your imagination and giving yourself to your desires, the things that are unseen. Because at the end of the day, everything that you and I are experiencing in this moment right now is a byproduct of what we are creating within. And the difference between those who are enslaved and are free are those who are bound by the flesh. The machine, the beast, the devil will always want more of the physicality. It will continue to crave more drugs, more sex, more entertainment, more power, and more greed. And because of that, there's never a cap, and you will constantly want more, need more, and do everything in your power to get more. But this is an illusion, because you'll never satisfy yourself. You'll never quench yourself. And this is why the idea of God is so profound, because through God is the only way for you to fill this desire, fill this yearning, this quench, this thirst for more. And we are the ones who create this war ultimately. However, there is the effect in this physical world, and in this video I'd like to break this down just a little bit, because I don't want to take too much time on it. But I want you to understand that there are groups, entities that seek to keep you sick, that seek to keep you confused mentally and spiritually, to keep you in a place of fear, in a place of victimhood, so that you never discover the power that you possess. So the question is really just why? Why is there this war happening? And it comes down to the very fact that you possess the power of God. And these three forms of power is what it wants to control. Please understand that at the very root of this war is a war with yourself. But there is the byproduct of this physical world, this matrix that we live in which we do have forces, like I just said momentarily ago. But I want to drive this point home, that this war is with yourself. Because again, you can have someone trying to imprison you, but if you do not give in to the person trying to imprison you, you will always remain free within yourself, and that is more important. So these groups of people, these entities, think of them like an energy like the beast that I mentioned that wants more. And if it can harness your energy, then it can channel your energy into their agendas, and your power that is meant for yourself will be given to these groups so they can fulfill their plans. But before we get to that, these three powers we need to discuss and we need to break down, because I want you to understand why they want your energy. Because if you do not understand why they want your energy, then you're not going to take this seriously, and you're not going to respect yourself enough as a fractal form of God, in which you literally have the power that creates worlds inside of your mind. this is not talked about enough in the spiritual world, let alone life in general. We are beings of brilliance. We are beings of pure positive energy. There's so much that we're going to do as a species, as God, you could say. And we've only scratched the surface, in my opinion. There's so much that we're going to do. And I believe in a world, I see a world where we are all free, working together to create just endless beauty, endless innovation, all for the collective well-being and the beauty of this earth that we live on. I mean, just there's so much wonder for us to experience. So please understand that it is up to you to harness these three forms of power for this dream to come into fruition of a beautiful earth that we all get to cherish and live on together. So, number one, the imagination. It is the power that forms existence itself. It's crucial to understand that the imagination is not something you simply possess, it is what you are. You may believe that the imagination is a byproduct of your mind, but in truth, it is the opposite. You are a byproduct of imagination itself. I'm gonna say that again. You are a byproduct of imagination itself. I'm gonna say this one more time because you really need to think about this and internalize this. You are the byproduct of imagination itself. The imagination is not the byproduct of us. We are created from the imagination itself. You can think of imagination as God, the universe, whatever. Everything you experience, everything you are, is shaped by the unseen forces of the imagination. Unseen being you don't physically see this with your human eyes. However, you do see this clear as day within your inner eyes. You imagine yourself making a shit ton of money, or you imagine yourself suffering. You imagine yourself not having enough money to pay your bills. But you, being a quote-unquote child of God, an extension of God, you hold the kingdom within you. So it is therefore your birthright to live in absolute abundance. It is your birthright to live in the absolute wonders of what it is that you want for yourself. And this comes from the imagination itself. So everything that you see inside of your mind is what shapes the path that you follow in life. So a little etymology, because I think it's very important to understand what words mean. Now, image is a piece of statutory artificial representation that looks like a person or thing. Nation, a race of people, large group of people with common ancestry and language, which is the term that we know now, but the old Latin is from the pi root gene, give birth and beget. Now, my definition of this is just reality born into being. So your imagination is what births reality. And there's so much there's so many things to draw from about this, because the very camera that I have right here that you're viewing from your laptop, your phone, whatever you're using, this microphone, these cheap ass glasses from Amazon, this hat, my keyboard, my desk, this entire house, the entire country of the United States, let alone every other country, city, invention, dude, everything has come from your imagination, or the imagination, I should say. So please start to think about this from a very serious perspective, because when you really start to understand that the imagination is what births reality into being, then it is your duty and your responsibility to focus on what is good. Because if you do not focus on what is good, you will be focusing on what is not good, which is really being bound by the flesh. And it's interesting because people will say, how wonderful is their imagination? Only to say you can't trust the imagination in the following sentence. So we have a weird way of viewing the imagination. Sometimes we say it's good. Sometimes we say it's bad. Sometimes it's in a little bit in the between. But the point is to understand that the imagination is what built societies, nations, empires, technology, education, literally everything, which I just said. So, quickly, again, how wonderful the imagination, only to see you can't trust the imagination. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter. This is important that I point out because there's two sides to it. But in both cases, it's the imagination, whether it's good or for bad. Typically, most of the time, when it's for the bad, it's because you're operating from fleshly desires, rather than living from a spiritual sense, where you know the way in which your reality is created is not through physical, how should I say, taking actions and expecting results, because you understand that life itself comes from what you see inside of your mind. Therefore, it's not that I'm going to sit on the couch and wait around for things. It's simply the fact that I know that what I create within my mind is what actually fulfills the desire. It's not, I should say that the actions and the results are the effect of the imagination, which is the cause. So it's important to really draw a clear understanding that people will use, they'll say the imagination is good, it's bad, it's indifferent, whatever. But through all those things, it's the imagination that creates what is being said, so to speak. And that is important to understand. Now, your imagination is like a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it becomes. Or you can think of it as a key capable of locking any door to any reality you desire. It takes time to develop. And this is part of becoming in my opinion, a born again Christian, or just someone who was born again spiritually. Part of that comes from understanding that the imagination is what creates reality. It's not that your imagination is just something that you experience, but it's the very fabric to your experience. And there's a study, the double slit experiment is very important I think it's important to understand science, because science, really proves a lot of these spiritual concepts that people talk about. So do not shy away from science to understand God. God created science, so you might as well understand the language of God through various different aspects of science. But in simple terms, the double split experiment determined or shows us that our observation collapses wave particles into particles. So waves are potential outcomes, and particles are a specific single outcome. I highly suggest that you research this because it helps you get a deeper understanding of the mind, but in this case, the imagination. Because how you observe reality is a byproduct, or not a byproduct. How you observe reality is intimately connected to what you're imagining. So the more you observe something, the more definite the outcome becomes. So you are literally, we only see 0.0035% of the light spectrum, right? If we only see such a small fraction of the light spectrum, then what else is out there? There's so many different things that we don't see, we don't experience, because we are really just focusing on such a single outcome, when there's so many different potentials for you to experience, which are waves of energy. So when you are using your imagination and you're observing these things inside of your mind, you are taking something, a potential form, a potential outcome, and you are solidifying it. You are turning it from simple energy into particle form. So you are the bridge to existence itself, to experience itself. That is amazing. It's so cool when you really, really, really start to internalize this, because this means that you are the one who gets to decide what it is that you're going to experience in life. And no more is it that you are just floating around in life waiting for things to happen. No, you're the one who's making shit happen now, because you know through your observation you are collapsing waves of potential into definite outcomes, simply because you chose to observe on a definite outcome first for a duration of time. So again, I kind of just touched on this, but your imagination is both wave and particle, and your attention collapses the waves into physical form, creating what you call reality. So imagination is it's so important. It's probably the most important part of it all. But if you do not have an imagination with controlled attention, you're going to be at the mercy of these groups and entities who want to control your mind and harvest your energy for their agendas. So attention, where attention goes, energy flows. Now, attention is alignment, okay? There's something that you need to understand about attention equaling alignment. You can have intentions, but if you do not have the attention in the intention, it doesn't matter. For example, you could have the intention to get super, super strong and healthy on your New Year's resolutions, or create a successful business, and that's a great intention to have, truly. And I encourage you to do it. But if you don't have the attention to actually go to the gym, do the call people for leads or whatever business things that you need to do, you don't have the attention to eat healthy. It doesn't matter. Fuck your intention, respectfully. It doesn't matter. You're just mocking yourself at that point. So you need to have attention with your intentions. Otherwise, it's all in vain. So again, attention equals alignment. Where you have your attention is where you are aligned. So by having attention on eating healthy food, going to the gym, you're gonna accomplish these New Year's resolutions. Same thing for business. If you have your attention on calling people for leads, or signing up for marketing services, or hiring the right people, or creating the systems, you're going to experience the success that you want. It's an absolute guarantee. Attention is so important to your success. But in this conversation, attention is so important for controlled imaginations, because if you do not have the ability to control what is going on inside of your imagination, you are going to be living a life of chaos. So if you have attention, the ability to exert or practice attention while using your imagination, you can keep yourself focused on a definite outcome that you want for yourself, and that is priceless. So remember, you can be aligned with things that are either destructive or beneficial to you. What determines your outcome is where your imagination dwells. Whatever you continuously focus on, you energize it to physical expression. It takes it's responsibility, okay? Like, you have to be responsible for where you place yourself inside of your imagination. Because wherever you place yourself inside of your imagination, you're creating channels of energy to turn a potential into particle form. And this is very important. Otherwise, people will use your attention for their agendas. Your attention is far more powerful than any intention. I already spoke on this, so I'm gonna move forward. But again, attention equals alignment. Attention is more important than intention, so make sure you have your attention and intention in alignment. Now, emotion is simply energy in motion, and it is your emotional conviction towards what you focus on that keeps you in a state of flow, which connects to the following form of power. But you need to ensure that your attention is on emotions that are rooted in the desired outcome. So if you are somebody who wants to be in shape, you need to have the emotional output of someone who's in shape, which is feelings of self-empowerment, pride for yourself that you're doing the hard work, satisfaction that you're seeing results for yourself, and the same attribute or the same emotional feelings for business. It's the same exact thing. So when your attention is drawn to beauty, it is because you have become beautiful. when your attention is locked on joy, it is because you have embodied joy itself. So you become what you are attentive to. If you want to be healthy, you must become healthy first for you to be healthy. Again, if your imagination, or not, since your imagination is what creates your reality, and since the imagination is the cause to the physical effects, you can only ever receive that which you want by becoming it before you receive it. It's the only way. Well, I can't say it's the only way. You can do it through struggling and all this physical exertion, but it's far easier to just become what it is you want within your mind, within the imagination, and then allow it to effortlessly come into fruition, which does not mean sitting on your ass and twisting your fingers around. You're going to take action. Why else are you here if not to take action? It simply means that when I go out into the world, I don't have doubt, I don't have worry, because I know that my attention is on a specific outcome that I see in my mind that I know is coming into fruition because I know my imagination creates reality. Why would I have doubt when I know this to be true? That's what it is. So your attention is worth more than all the galaxies combined. It is your sacred duty to discipline it, to direct it with precision, because only then can you truly create your reality. It is the most important resource ever. So, emotions are the spice of life. Emotions are not a bad thing. Emotions are an amazing thing. Your emotions are fuel for this reality, and this fuel gets you absolutely everywhere. Your emotions give your life depth. At its core, reality is meaningless. It is we who assign meaning to all things. The ultimate goal is to bring purpose and significance to an otherwise neutral existence. And this point right here is important. God is indifferent to men, and the evidence is everywhere. Billions pray yet remain in lack, receiving more of what they do not want because they direct their prayers to outward, to something separate from themselves. But God is not a man, it is the very energy of existence itself, bringing life to whatever is deeply felt. Now, this can be hard to internalize. It can be hard to accept. But the sooner you accept that you are God, and I'm not saying you are an individual God separate from the prime creator. No, you are an extension of this prime creator in physical form, and you are the one who is supposed to bring meaning to this life. It has to be, because look around. If there was innate meaning in life, and there was innate goodness, innate badness, so to speak, all these people praying for something good their answers would have been prayed or answered, and they would have what they want. But that's just not how it works, because they themselves are praying from a place of lack. Their mind, being indifferent, doesn't know that they want something. It only gives them who they are being. You can pray and pray and pray and pray, but if you are praying as a poor person, continuously imagining yourself as a poor person, continually putting your attention on poor people things, feeling apathetic, feeling like a victim, why in the world are you the person who even deserves it in that situation? Absolutely not. If you're that type of person who complains and prays for this when you are a poor person, you do not deserve it. Because if someone gave you all the money in the world, you would lose it. I mean, look at retired athletes. Look at lottery winners. They lose their money in such a short amount of time because they aren't the equivalent of the money. They aren't someone who identifies and sees themselves as an investor, as a wealthy individual who has sound financial practices to keep their money safe, but to also grow it. So they just spend the shit out of it because they, at that point in their lives, want to have a good time. They just want to fuck off and do all these stupid things because they didn't have the ability to maybe do that when they were younger or before. So then they lose it. And this is one of my favorite verses. Luke chapter 17, verse 21. Look here nor there, for the kingdom of God is within. If the kingdom of God is within you, a kingdom has everything. They got food, they got riches, they got protection, they got privacy. The attributes of these things that are determined by who you are within. You can have a kingdom of absolute abundance and amazing stuff, or it could be a kingdom of pain and misery and suffering. And that's the case for most people. And they don't even realize that they have the keys to this kingdom, and they can craft this kingdom to whatever it is that they want for themselves. And that's a shame. So, accepting that your emotions shape your reality compels you to focus on what not only feels best, but also serves the greater good of humanity. Now, this is a map from David Hawkins. You have different levels of emotion that have different levels of a vibrational output that is tied to certain, how would you say it? The states of being. So if you are in a state of grief, apathy, guilt, shame, you're operating at a lower frequency, and that contracts you. That shuts you off from the world. So you feel humiliated, you feel blamed, you feel despair, you feel regret, you view life as tragic or hopeless or evil or miserable. And the view of God that you have is a disdaining God, a condemning God, a vindictive God, a despising God. So you must place yourself on the throne, sovereign over your own being, and allow yourself to become who you truly wish to be. This means emotionally embodying your desire, because only by becoming them within can you experience them without, which ties into the next form of power. But again, this is all attention. So make sure not the next point, sorry. Where your attention goes, energy flows. So now, you wield the power that gives life its meaning, beauty, purpose, and if you do not have domain over this, then others will use your energy for their agendas. John 10, verse 34. Jesus answered them, "Is it not written in your law? I said, ye are gods. You are gods of your life." Now, we need to know who/what is at war with us. First thing, most importantly, an energy that seeks to dismantle your godhood and keep you bound to all physical addictions. This energy is called Satan, it's the devil, Lucifer, and so forth, which really is the flesh, the body, the selfish-driven ego. Do what thou wilt is a common term coined by Aleister Crowley, which, how far is that taken? Do what thou wilt, even if you're causing suffering for some personal gain? I don't know about that. That doesn't sound very impactful and good for yourself, in my opinion. Now, the devil's job is to keep you addicted to the machine, aka entertainment. Now, entertainment, it is, the saying, all the world's a stage. It's individuals, groups, organizations, governments, anybody that seeks to control everything for their personal good without caring for life itself. Now, the physical side of this thing is companies that own, quite literally everything. So you have all of these different companies who own different food brands, cleaning brands, just all of it. And you and I both know that a lot of our food is filled with poison. It's toxic. It's not good. A lot of these companies have, very woke agendas that seek you to do what thou wilt, even if it puts you in a place of really kind of like narcissism, honestly. So they all have their agendas to program you to be a certain way by keeping your attention on certain things, and filling your body with just poison. And then you have Disney, who owns everything, which is quite insane when you really look at this map. They own all of it. They own all the movies, the TV shows that you're watching. So they have the ability to put information in certain narratives in these movies that make you think certain ways, because part of your mind, right? The subconscious mind is always soaking in data and information at all times. So even if you're not aware of something that's being said in a movie or a TV show, your subconscious mind will pick it up, and it'll start to associate yourself to things happening in life, and before you know it, you're doing and starting to think things that you typically wouldn't think about before. And I know you've experienced that. You do something that you're kind of taken back. Why did I do that? That's not like me. But meanwhile, you're having all of these things coming into your mind without you realizing it, and you're becoming the person they want you to become. Now, that doesn't mean everything that they put out is horrible and bad. That's not what I'm saying, but you have to use discernment and be mindful of what it is that you are putting into your mind, because there is agendas at hand. There are narratives at hand. It's really, just taking down the family traditions, traditional ways of living, which doesn't mean that a female needs to be below the husband. I highly disagree with that. I also disagree with the fact that a woman can't make more money than the husband. I disagree with that. It's really just about respecting roles, respecting what creates a strong family unit, and that's connection from man to woman, respecting each other as partners and as parents too. But it's also trying to get men to be less masculine and be more feminine, and getting girls to be more masculine and more brute, which again, everything's contextual. You need to be masculine in certain situations, but at the core of your being, if you're a woman, being feminine is what makes you happy. Being a man, being masculine is what makes you happy. And then Comcast, Disney, 21st Century, which Disney owns 21st Century, and I believe AT&T too, honestly. But they control the news, so they can put whatever they want in the news. They get you to think certain things about other countries that aren't true. And I have to be careful with. I don't want this channel or this video to be shadow banned. But there are wars that have been started because our government created a false flag event to convince the American people that we should go to war with this nation, when it was them themselves who did the very act that made people think it. This is real stuff, and I would hope that you have an idea of what I'm talking about. And I know obviously I had no points there, but it's just an unfortunate thing, and this is why they want your consent, because if you give your attention to what's going on, you're giving your emotional power, you're giving your imaginal power to these entities. Then they can go and do what it is that they want, would go collect resources, go collect land. They can do certain pharmaceutical studies in places where there's not going to be a bunch of lashback, because it's a third world country. They can get away with it. But if you're not objecting to it, you're giving your energy to it, and they grow more powerful because of that. So with them controlling all the information, the outflow of information, and you're scrolling on your phone, and you're scrolling on YouTube, and you're watching the news, and you're seeing all this stuff, you're being used. It really can be quite startling and quite scary at times. But this is why I said at the beginning of the video, the real war is with yourself, because you need to set parameters up for yourself where you don't get consumed by what is being pumped out. Like, you have to be so mindful of what it is that you're viewing, because you have these advertisements from pharmaceutical companies about you having this type of headache, and then you watch that and your subconscious mind remembers this stuff, and then you start to get these headaches, or you start to get these diseases. You start to carry these attitudes about people because they don't agree with you. And it's very, very dangerous. So these entities quietly shape the world. They infiltrate your mind with selfishness, greed, and suffering, so subtly that you don't even realize it. They craft narratives, ideologies, and movements with precision, each designed to serve a purpose beyond what you see. Now, C-19 was meant to be catastrophic. It absolutely was. The projected death toll was beyond comprehension, yet in reality it mirrored the flu. The things sold as safe and effective, now they're facing mounting evidence to the contrary. What was the real agenda? Money, money, money. And in my personal opinion, just to get people more sick. Again, by pumping the body with an experimental cocktail that was released in record amounts of time, 3 months or something like that. It wasn't just money too, it was more control, more fear, but they pumped our minds with so much information that wasn't even true. Our attention was on it, our imagination was worrying about this thing and what we have to be mindful of and what happens if this happens and that happens, and that's just fueling the agenda. It can be divide and conquering, so BLM, LGBTQ, Democratic, Republican, each movement, each label, a tool to separate us. We are trained to see mass groups as threats simply because their experiences differ from ours, which is it's easier to control people if they're separated into different groups. Rather than all of us being unified, it's impossible to control us if we're all unified. So by creating different groups with different opinions and creating this idea that if someone has a different opinion than me, then they're a threat, they're an enemy. This is to control us. Rather than, it's okay if we don't agree, that's fine. We don't have to agree. I still love you though, because I like other parts about you. And this is changing, thankfully enough, because we're trying to, pick up on the BS. So then it could be entertainment, or entertainment is not so innocent. Movies, TV, music, and news do more than inform, they mold your perception. Every storyline tells you what you want, tells you what to fear, what to desire, and how to think. Partying your life away, buy all the movies and TV shows that glamorize partying, focus on the problems of the day and staying distracted. And this is really just power. If they can control you, control how you think, that's, I don't know what's more powerful than that, to be honest, because if the way you think is in alignment with what their agenda is, then you're just an asset for them. The ultimate goal is dependency. They don't want you to think for yourself. They condition you to be a follower, reliant on their systems, their narratives, and their leadership. A controlled mind is a fearful mind. Fear is their most effective weapon. It paralyzes, it distracts, it weakens. You become trapped in imagined dangers. Your energy drained by negativity. The more you fear, the stronger their grip. Again, if you are in lower states of consciousness, you are going to be contracting, and you do not have the ability to open yourself up to really yourself. But ironically, again, as real as this is, one second, there we go. As real as this stuff is, there's only so much control, because we've been convinced that there is this prison, so to speak. But it's just an illusion, because at the end of the day, you have the ability to control this. You can free yourself from this, and you can start to increase your frequency, get into higher states of consciousness of willingness, acceptance, reason, love, peace, joy. You operate at a higher frequency. You have better imaginal acts. You have your attention's focused on what it is that you want, on your opinions. That's not rooted in confirmation bias or agendas or narratives. And then that's just how you free yourself. So let's go up to here. And it's that there are themes, okay? It's that you're disconnected from source. You are God that believes himself to be man. 2 is consume. You cannot create if you are consuming. And suffering is the cost of fulfillment. A victimhood, them but not me. So number 1, you're more than a body. Institutions, whether political, religious, or societal, convince you otherwise. They sever your connection to something greater, leaving you powerless. But if you awaken to your divine nature, their hold dissolves. If you're just the body, then you're bound by certain limitations. You're bound by time. You're bound by location. These are all concepts that aren't rooted in truth. What I believe is truth is that you don't need time to change things. Your location doesn't matter. Who you are within, your spiritual side is what matters. So by convincing you that you're just a body, you don't have access to this power. And you're bound by the physical realm rather than the spiritual realm, the God realm. Number 2, consumption is a silent weapon. Every act of consumption shapes you. If you absorb nonsense, you become nonsense. Social media, a tool with limitless potential, is hijacked to tether you to the animalistic through sex, violence, and isolation. It keeps you addicted to lower states, imprisoned in cycles of suffering. And anytime, like you can see, there are certain TV shows like Love Island or fucking The Bachelor or Miami Vice or New Jersey, whatever. I forget these shows. Even shows for children now are fucked, and they're getting us to be certain ways that are just not in alignment with really what's best for people. It's unfortunate, really, because you have to be, it's like when you learn about how bad food is, you no longer can go buy a bunch of the same food that you've previously enjoyed. So at first it makes your shopping experience shitty, because now you have to be very mindful about what you're buying to make sure that the ingredients aren't filled with toxic poison. And it's the same thing with TV shows. You know, you have to be mindful of what kind of shows you're watching, because these shows have certain themes. And if the theme is separation, loss, suffering, you're going to think that's normal. Even if it's just a movie, your subconscious mind is also indifferent. So it just takes this as data, and it will try to find more of it depending on that emotional conviction that you have towards it. You can't create if you're in a state of consumption all the time. And if you are consuming what they are putting out, then you are easily controlled, and your mind is theirs. Suffering is not a requirement, contrary to what we've been trained to believe. We've been trained, or they train you to see pain as necessary, when in truth it is misplaced faith and misery. Chaos and loss shrink your world, blinding you to the infinite possibilities. Shift your faith, place enjoy power and certainty, and break free. Now, I will say, this does not mean you won't experience hardship. I mean, I say pain, like you will experience pain, but what I'm saying is you don't need pain to manifest the life that you want. You don't need pain in order to grow. Yes, you will experience pain. Yes, you will get hit with shit in your life, but your ability to respond to this pain in a productive and positive way will determine your future success. If you think that you need to suffer and need to feel pain as a path of how to say it, like in order for you to have something, you have to have pain and suffering for you to get it. rite of passage. That's what I was trying to think of. It's like a rite of passage. But that's not how it works. It can work that way, but it doesn't have to work that way. And if you are operating from that place, it's a lower state of consciousness, and again, it's just easier to control you if you're in a constant state of suffering. Suffering holds fear. The more fearful you are, the more you suffer. So victimhood is the final trap. When you see yourself as a victim, you're exactly where they want you, disempowered and dependent. You search for salvation outside of yourself, unaware that you are the source. Your divine power is siphoned away, fed into the very forces that keep you small. Now, you consent by giving your attention to the machine, the false narratives, the propaganda, and so forth. If they have your attention, then you have nothing. Truly, you have nothing. Now, I like this, Romans 8, verse 6. The mind governed by the flesh is death, but the mind governed by the spirit is life and peace. When the mind is governed by these entities, narratives, leads to death. But when you are governed by your spirit, you will have life and peace for yourself, because you are not abiding by what they say is true, by what they want or what they want to be true or what should be. It's your life. You decide, okay? Now, the most crucial truth in this entire video comes down to this. As real as these entities may be, the greatest battle is within yourself. You hold absolute dominion over your own being, and no form of enslavement can strip this away. The key is your discipline, training your mind to focus on what is truly good rather than what merely distracts and entertains. Master your focus and master your reality. Again, I'm not using definites, or in other words, I'm not saying you can't enjoy entertainment, enjoy movies and TV shows, but you cannot allow these movies and TV shows to convince you of a certain way of being. Go enjoy yourself, but at the end of the day, you need to be the one who gets to decide how you see the world, how you view the world. I personally don't like watching movies that have a lot of suffering in it, or the narrative is that you need to, with the hero's journey, like, there's obviously a time and place for that, but I don't want to live from a place where I have to struggle to get this, and I have to struggle to get that. Then I have to do this, and then the world's against me, and then I prove to the world that I'm good. Like, no, like, that just doesn't sound fun. Like, I see myself as a child of God, and I already have the kingdom. I already am who I want to be. I get whatever it is that I want, and that's not from a entitled place. That's not from an egotistical place. It's just a matter of truth. And I understand that seems arrogant, but I believe it comes across arrogant only because we've been trained to think that we must suffer to get what we want, like I've been talking about. That it can't be that easy. It can't be as effortless. But I believe it can, because what you imagine, where you place your attention, and how you feel about things is what you get. So I feel that I have my birthright is I have the keys to the kingdom. If I want a certain amount of money, I'm gonna get that amount of money. If I want a certain group of friends, I'm gonna get that. If I want to go travel, I'm gonna get it. I don't need to explain why. It just is. You must consistently imagine what is good, a strong, healthy body and mind, financial abundance, the freedom to live on your terms, and deep inner peace. This isn't just wishful thinking, it's the process of collapsing waves into particle form, bringing the unseen into reality. Your focus must remain unwavering on these visions, no matter what the external world presents, no matter what the agendas are, no matter what the narrative is. If there's war, if there's famine, who cares? There's only one economy, and that's the economy of thought. My thoughts will bring me to where I want to be, despite what is going on in the world, despite how many people may be suffering. That is not yours or my path. Remember, the world is nothing more than a mirror of your inner state. You are not reacting to life itself, but to aspects of yourself that you have yet to integrate or to transform. And when challenges arise, as they inevitably will, it is your ability to navigate them that determines the quality of life that follows. Mastery over your emotions is key. You must allow yourself to feel pain, misery, and apathy so they can be transmuted, but you cannot afford to remain trapped in them. Rise above them, reclaim your power, and shape your reality on your terms. End this war by owning yourself. So, I appreciate you for being here. I hope this video has helped you immensely in understanding what this war is. I encourage you to focus on the war within your mind rather than what's going on in the outside world. That doesn't mean to ignore the terrible ingredients, the awful narratives going on, the divide and conquer tactics. I'm not saying to ignore that. I'm just saying you yourself need to become what you want to experience. So the best thing you can do for this war, this evolutionary war that's part of your human experience, is to become exactly who you want to be. If you want to experience more love in the world, you have to become loving yourself. If you want more companionship, you need to be companionship yourself. You need to be good to people. You need to be kind to people. You need to go and see the world to make friends. If you want to have a successful business, you need to become a businessman yourself or a businesswoman yourself. If you want to see more equality, you need to give out equality to the people around you. It is unbelievably important for you to focus what you're imagining on. Your imagination is the first cause substance to everything that you experience. You need to ensure that your attention is on what is good. You need to make sure that you're feeling what it is that you want to feel. And you need to own these things, because if you do not own these things, then you will be owned by the energies that these you'll be controlled by the same energy that controls these entities to control you. Because yes, as real as this physical stuff is, behind all of it is just energy and frequency. And these frequencies run these entities, and they will run you too. So, you have the keys. Choose to use the keys to see what is good, what is meant for you, what is best for you. With that being said, appreciate you for being here again. Thank you for commenting, liking, and sharing this video with somebody who needs to hear this message. And I'll catch you in the next video.